Merci beaucoup de votre présence à cette conférence de presse avec le président du Parlement, M. Tajani, et le coordinateur de la conférence des présidents pour le Brexit, M. Verhofstadt, suite à la réunion que la conférence des présidents vient d'avoir tout à l'heure, entre autres choses, pour adopter la proposition de résolution que le Parlement va voter la semaine prochaine à Strasbourg. Président.
Good evening, everybody. Bonsoir a tous, buenas tardes a todos. Buonasera agli italiani, benvenuti a questa conferenza stampa. In the 60 years since the birth of the Union, we have overcome many challenges. However, this is the first time that a member state has decided to leave us. Although we fully respect the democratic will of the majority of the British people, but today is not a good day for Europe. As you know, today Prime Minister May has officially begun the Article 50 process. This is the starting point of a difficult and complex negotiations define the conditions of the United Kingdom's departure. During the Conference of the Presidents, we discussed the Parliament's initial position on the Brexit negotiations. We will have an open debate, and the resolution, tabled by several groups, will be voted on in the plenary next week. It will provide the Parliament's guidelines on the European Council negotiation mandate. The European Parliament's first priority is to safeguard the interests of citizens. For this, we must ensure an orderly withdrawal through successful negotiations conducted in good faith, with fair play, and in full transparency. This is in the interest of both the European Union and the UK. An orderly exit is an absolute requirement and the precondition for any potential future European Union-United Kingdom partnership. This is not negotiable. As the UK will continue to enjoy its rights as a member state, it will also have to fully respect its treaty obligation until the very last day of membership. And I want to thank Mrs. May for committing to this principle. But let me be clear, unilateral decision affecting the rights of EU citizens and any time before the UK's withdrawal in 2 years' time would be contrary to the treaties and therefore illegal. The European Parliament must defend citizens' rights. This is why we need an agreement based on continuity, reciprocity, and non-discrimination. Not reaching a deal on the right of citizens means not reaching a deal at all. In addition, the United Kingdom will have to honour its financial commitments. The UK will not be asked to pay for anything that they had not previously agreed to. It is evident that the no-deal scenario would be a catastrophe for all, but especially for the United Kingdom. The UK would be faced with tariffs, uncertainty for the car industry and financial services, increased food prices, air traffic disruptions, long lines of lorries in Dover, just to mention a few. This is not what we want. However, we stand ready. The absolute need to conclude a good deal also stems from our strong will to safeguard the achievement of the Good Friday Agreement and the peace process in Northern Ireland. I would also like to make clear that a social or fiscal race to the bottom would not lay the foundations for a sound relationship with the European Union after Brexit. The privilege of the Union membership comes with responsibilities, and these responsibilities mean guaranteeing the four freedoms. The four freedoms are the glue that binds it together. They are indivisible and not negotiable. It should be clear that to be a member cannot be the same thing as not being a member. Nevertheless, after the separation, we should work towards establishing a good partnership with the UK. But the UK is leaving the European Union, not Europe. We have the same heritage, the same culture, the same history, the same tradition. We have a common identity. Brexit is not the only challenge that we face. There is a growing feeling of anxiety. People are worried about their future, illegal immigration, terrorism. They would like a Europe that champions our interests and values around the world. We are strongly convinced that only by being united we can overcome these challenges. Close cooperation on defence, police, intelligence and judicial matters should continue with the UK whether there is a deal or not. We are moving on. The Rome Declaration has given us a fresh start. I hope it will generate new momentum, taking Europe forward while bringing it closer to its citizens. In my role as its President, I will defend the Parliament's position in my meetings with the EU states or government, including Mrs. May, and with the European Commission. The Parliament will play a key role in deciding the outcome of the negotiations. As a representative of the only directly elected institution, I will keep lines of communication with members open and ensure that open, public debates will take place for the benefit of our citizens. And now I give the floor to the Conference of Presidents Brexit Coordinator, Mr. Guy Verhofstadt. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. First of all, let me say that at the end of this press conference, we're going to provide you the draft resolution that has been tabled for the plenary of next week, and that is supported at this moment by four groups, by the PPE, the SD, the ALDE group, and the Greens. It's also possible that in the coming days, other groups will join the support for this resolution. And why this resolution? First of all, because it is an unprecedented and regrettable event that a member state is leaving the European Union. But you know that in the treaty is very clearly indicated that it is this House, the European Parliament, who has to approve the final deal, the final agreement. And what we want to do in this position, in this opinion, in this resolution, is already making very clear what the points are that have to be met in order to give the approval to this final agreement. So it's not an exercise in the air. It's to already very clearly indicating and stating what the points are that for the European Parliament need to be in the agreement within more or less 2 years. The basic principle, and the President has already said it, is citizens first. And when we talk about citizens, it's citizens in Britain and it's citizens in the European Union. For us, it's an absolute priority that the rights of these citizens is settled. And we think even that it needs to be the first point, the first issue to be tackled in the negotiations. So we want that these negotiations start with the rights of the residents, the UK residents living in Europe and the EU residents living in Britain, because we don't think, and we are completely against the fact that citizens should become bargaining chips in a negotiation. And full protection on both sides is absolutely needed in accordance with the European law and with the Charter of Fundamental Rights. And it's also in the same spirit that we want that the EU27 examine how to mitigate the negative effect for those British people who are losing their European citizenship, a solution that has to be naturally in full line with the primary law of the European Union. The second point that we make clear in this opinion of the Parliament that is tabled for next week is that we hope for fair and constructive negotiations. That means no behind our back. And for example, we make very clear in our resolution that we will never accept, for example, that behind our back the UK is starting trade negotiations with other countries before the withdrawal. Because until the withdrawal, the UK is a full member of the European Union with all the rights, but also with all the obligations. And the same goes, in fact, also for the individual member states of the European Union, who could be, I should say, tempted to negotiate separate agreements with the UK. For us, for the European Parliament, the unity of the 27 is vital. And the best way to achieve this is to take on board in the negotiation mandate of the Union all the interests of the 27 member states of the Union, especially of the Republic of Ireland. Because we recognize as Parliament that there is a special threat on Ireland and also on Northern Ireland, and that new unrest in Northern Ireland has absolutely to be avoided. And therefore, we are very clear. The Brexit agreement needs to fully respect the Good Friday Agreement in all its aspects, and that means also that we will never accept a hard border again between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic. We want also, in our very clear resolution, a financial settlement. And we expect from the UK that in this financial settlement they honour all their legal, financial and budgetary obligations. And next point, naturally, is the future relationship with Britain. In the European Parliament, and I hope that it will be backed by a huge majority, we still think that the best solution for the UK, for its citizens and for its companies, was to remain part of the single market, was to remain at least part of the customs union. But unfortunately, this is not the way the UK sees it, as it does not accept the four freedoms and as it wants to negotiate its own trade agreements. From our side, nevertheless, we want to make clear that sectoral agreements cutting up the single market, in fact destroying the single market, won't be allowed. We are of the opinion that the best way for a future close partnership between the Union and the UK is an association agreement based on Article 217 of the treaty. And I give you a short, I will not read it completely, what 217 is saying. The Union may conclude with one or more third countries agreements establishing association involving reciprocal rights and obligation, common action and special procedure. We think that such an association agreement goes naturally well beyond economic cooperation. It's also about, for example, cooperation on security or implementing programs like, for example, Erasmus, and in which case, naturally, the UK has to meet European standards and also to pay the normal contributions. But what we shall never accept is that there is a trade-off between the one and the other. Saying, oh, we can do a good agreement on security, internal and external, if there is also a deal that we want on trade and economics. I think that the security of our citizens is far too important to start a trade-off from one for the other. And in our point of view, both are absolutely necessary in the future partnership without starting to bargain on this, the one against the other. We don't exclude also a transition period that in our point of view need to be limited in time. And we propose 3 years. And then finally, I want to remind you that the Parliament needs to sign off this final agreement or agreements. The withdrawal agreement, the future partnership, eventually the transition. And what we're going to do as Parliament is to do everything to minimize the negative effects for citizens and businesses of these different agreements. And as the President of our House, Mr. Tajani, has indicated, naturally it will never be the same. It will never be outside the Union better than inside the Union. And that is not a question of revenge. That is not a question of punishment. That is the logic of the European Union, of the European treaties, of the European project, that together we created an added value for everybody of our countries and for every of our citizens. Naturally, the Parliament will later on come with more detailed resolutions on specific issues in the coming months. And normally that will start after the summer break when, I should say, the negotiations between the European Union and the UK are really on speed, if I may use that expression.
Thank you. The President and Mr. Verhofstadt will take now a few questions. Enrique.
Muchas gracias. Enrique Serveto, del diario ABC de Madrid. Una pregunta en español al señor presidente Tajani. Ha habido informaciones según las cuales se ha discutido también en la resolución la posibilidad de una cláusula de reversibilidad, es decir, de dejar la puerta abierta a que los británicos pudieran cambiar de opinión. ¿Qué le parece esta idea?
Las reglas son muy claras. Para empezar, la decisión es del país que decide dejar la Unión Europea. La señora May lo ha hecho esta mañana a las 13:20 de Bruselas con una carta por el señor Tusk, presidente del Consejo Europeo. Desde la 1:20 de hoy, el problema del Brexit es un problema de toda la Unión Europea. Si el Reino Unido decide, por ejemplo, de cambiar su posición, no lo puede hacer solo. Son todos los países miembros que van a decidir si esto se puede hacer, pero todos los países miembros. Por esto, claro, se puede hacer, pero las reglas son muy claras.
BBC.
Yes, just 2 questions, please. President Tajani,
Not too difficult.
wonder if you could address this question. That in her letter, Theresa May said that in security terms, a failure to reach agreement would mean our cooperation in the fight against crime and terrorism would be weakened. she was talking about a broad agreement, but also an overall agreement. Some have seen that as an attempt to link the two. Some have read it as a possible threat. What do you see? How do you see that, and what impact do you think that has? Mr. Verhofstadt, do you think that that the question of a future trade agreement has to be kept till later? There cannot be discussions to start on that early on.
I want to be very clear on this. We want a good agreement with the UK. The UK, after the Brexit, will be a friend. As I said yesterday, after the meeting with the Mayor of London, and I said also during my speech, tomorrow the UK will be outside the European Union, but the UK is a European country. For this, I hope a good agreement on everything. But I think the close cooperation on defense, police, intelligence, action against terrorism, and judicial matters should continue with the UK, whether there is deal or not. For us, the cooperation against terrorism, against crime, is a priority. For this, I think, I hope a global agreement after the Brexit with the UK. I think during these 2 years, we need to pave the way for a good agreement between us and the UK. But also, if it's impossible, I am optimistic on this. Also, Mrs. May, in his letter, is optimistic on this. But in case of negative solution, for us, the cooperation against terrorism is crucial. Against crime, our cooperation is crucial because it's not a problem European Union inside or outside. The terrorism is the problem today, number one. You know very much the situation in London after this attack. We want to support, we want to back the United Kingdom against the terrorism, as the United Kingdom supported France, Belgium, after the attack. For this, I think, in my opinion, this is important to achieve. First of all, this agreement is impossible. In my opinion, it's possible to split. But in case a negative solution on trade, we need to cooperate against terrorism, against crime.
There is an article in the resolution, 23, was clearly indicating that we don't want a trade-off between, on the one hand, economic policies, agreements on the one hand, and internal and external security. That's what already indicating in my intervention, saying that security is far too important that to start to bargaining it against an economic agreement. On the other question that you have put forward, the resolution gives a sequencing of the negotiations as we see it. And that starts with a withdrawal agreement in the light of your future relationship between the Union and the UK. So what is needed in this framework of 2 years is the withdrawal agreement, plus also an agreement on the general terms, I should say, of your future relationship. That's exactly what the treaty says in Article 50. And that needs to be done. The further detailing of this new partnership, of this what we call association agreement based on Article 217, because that is the idea that we propose, will take certainly the whole transition period. Because that seems to me a little bit unrealistic to think that you can do that in 14 or 15 months. So we have simply to apply the treaty. The treaty gives the answer to the question that you have put forward, but we have in the resolution in 13, 14 and 15 clearly indicating how this sequencing will go on.
Thank you. Rob.
Rob Herbout voor VRT in het Nederlands. Een vraag voor meneer Verhofstadt, als dat mag. Theresa May zegt dit is een onherroepelijk proces dat nu is opgestart. Bent u het daarmee eens? Is dit artikel 50, kan dat nog worden teruggetrokken op een of andere manier? En tweede vraag, denkt u dat het echt mogelijk is om binnen die 2 jaar een akkoord te bereiken over de echtscheiding en een principeakkoord over een toekomstige handelsrelatie? Is dat mogelijk?
Ik denk dat dat mogelijk is als u zich beperkt tot een scheiding aan de ene kant, dus een overeenkomst over de scheiding, en het algemeen kader van de nieuwe relatie, van het nieuwe partenariaat. Dat is mogelijk. Maar alle details, alle inhoud van dat nieuwe partnerschap, dat zal uiteraard meer tijd vergen dan die eerste 2 jaar. En dat is de reden waarom wij zeggen dat moet beperkt blijven tot een periode van 3 jaar, die onderhandelingen over die nieuwe relatie tussen het Verenigd Koninkrijk en de Europese Unie. En over artikel 50, de herroepbaarheid. Wij erkennen in de resolutie dat een verandering in opinie mogelijk is. Maar, zoals de voorzitter inderdaad heeft duidelijk gemaakt, dit zal ook de instemming noodzaken van de EU 27. Want het is geen eenzijdig proces meer. Eens artikel 50 genotificeerd, is het een proces van het Verenigd Koninkrijk en van de Unie. En wij geven er ook de reden bij waarom in onze resolutie. Wij willen namelijk niet dat het terugtrekken van de notificatie gebruikt zou kunnen worden als een of andere procedurale kunstgreep om de tijd wat op te rekken of om misschien zelfs betere voorwaarden te bedingen voor een nieuw lidmaatschap van de Unie. Daarom is het een proces van 2 zijden. Ook de EU 27 moeten ermee instemmen.
Hello, I'm Salvatore Lusso from ANSA News Agency. I will speak in Italian. Una domanda al Presidente Tajani. Quindi voi in questa risoluzione fissate dei paletti molto stringenti per i negoziati e, se ho capito bene, siete pronti anche a porre un veto e a bloccare l'accordo se non rispetterà questi paletti. È così?
Certamente, il Parlamento europeo sarà determinante perché alla fine dei negoziati dovrà votare sì o no. Io mi auguro che il voto alla fine possa essere positivo e voglio essere molto chiaro. Tutti quanti noi abbiamo un obiettivo prioritario: tutelare gli interessi dei cittadini europei che vivono all'interno dell'Unione Europea, ma anche dei cittadini europei che vivono nel Regno Unito. Questa è la nostra priorità. Vogliamo anche che non ci siano danni, ovviamente, per i cittadini sudditi di Sua Maestà britannica. Per fortuna la lettera della signora May va nella giusta direzione. Quindi, da questo punto di vista, io mi auguro che il risultato possa essere positivo. Ripeto, per noi la priorità è la tutela delle libertà, di tutte e 4 le libertà dei cittadini europei.
Johanna, Radio France.
Johanna Holstein, Radio France, RFI. Une question en français, s'il vous plaît, pour M. Tajani et M. Verhofstadt. Sur l'équipe de négociation, sur celui qui va mener les négociations pour le Brexit, M. Barnier, est-il à la hauteur? S'est-il suffisamment bien entouré? Et quels conseils lui donneriez-vous pour mener à bien ces négociations?
Moi, je connais très bien Michel Barnier. Nous étions commissaires ensemble. Et nous avons travaillé la main dans plusieurs secteurs. Et moi, je pense qu'il sera un bon négociateur. Il est très capable, il a déjà commencé à travailler beaucoup. Et il a, je pense, une bonne équipe. Le Parlement européen va donner des fonctionnaires qui peuvent participer au travail de M. Barnier. Et après, le Parlement européen va faire tout ce qui sera possible pour lui donner des idées, des positions, pour défendre toujours les citoyens européens. Donc, nous allons aussi l'inviter au débat que nous aurons la semaine prochaine, mercredi, à Strasbourg. Donc, le débat sera avec le président du groupe, bien sûr, parce que le protagoniste sera le Parlement, mais nous aurons aussi la possibilité de dire à M. Barnier que lui sera notre négociateur. Donc le Parlement, qui est déjà en train de travailler, il y a une bonne équipe, il y a M. Verhofstadt qui coordonne le travail de la conférence des présidents sur le Brexit, donc nous serons toujours en contact avec lui et nous soutiendrons son travail parce que je pense qu'il est vraiment capable, il a l'expérience, il était ministre, il connaît très bien aussi les domaines plus importants sont les droits des citoyennes. Il était commissaire au marché intérieur et après aussi il connaît très bien les domaines des finances comme il a été il a organisé plusieurs réformes quand il était commissaire. Donc je pense qu'il est très capable, il a le soutien de nous tous.
Donc la réponse est oui, pour moi. Hein. Et c'est aussi dans le texte, hein, donc on a un article spécifiquement où on soutient, comme Parlement, le choix de Michel Barnier et le fait qu'il sera pleinement soutenu par le Parlement.
Yes, please.
Carl Dinnan from ITV News. You have said that you want, a question for both of you, if you don't mind. You have said that you want to have the negotiations for the withdrawal followed by the negotiations for the future trading arrangements. How do you expect Mrs. May to sell to the British Parliament and the British people a possible bill for leaving the European Union when they have no idea what the future relationship will be like?
That is not what I said. That's not what I said. Sorry, I said the withdrawal agreement in the light of an agreement on your future relationship. That's in the treaty. So you're going to not have the details of your future relationship, but at least a common idea of what will be your future relationship. That's exactly what is in the treaty.
It's correct. I support the Verhofstadt position. The problem is not Verhofstadt position; it's the treaty position.
Yeah, the treaty
It's not our decision. But okay, we need to decide the divorce, and then after the framework, we need to pave the way for the future relations after the day after the Brexit. But as we said, we are in favor of good relations with the UK. We are not against the UK. We are friends, but now we need to strengthen our interest during the Brexit, but working for the future for good relations in many, many sectors with the UK. But to be member of the European Union is not the same to be outside of the European Union. This is very clear.
Voilà, deux dernières questions, Jurek et puis Bruno.
Jurek Kuczkiewicz, newspaper Le Soir. I ask my question in English, so since this is a very British day, a question about the role of the Parliament in the negotiation. An eminent member of the Parliament, Mr. Weber, said that actually the Parliament will be the bad guy in the negotiation because there always must be a bad guy. So, Mr. Verhofstadt, there was a book written about you with the title "The Good Guy." So, how do you see, more seriously, how do you see this bad guy role for the Parliament? And a second question about the transparency. When you mention transparency, is it transparency of the negotiation team, Mr. Barnier, to the Parliament, or transparency also to the public? And how do you see this precisely, this transparency? Thank you.
Je n'ai pas compris, le méchant est Verhofstadt. C'est pas qui est le méchant, le Parlement ou Verhofstadt?
Non, la question c'est...
Non, j'ai bien compris. J'ai bien compris. Mais nous faisons notre travail. Nous défendons les intérêts des citoyens européens. Voilà le texte que le groupe le plus important ont présenté aujourd'hui à la réunion de la conférence des présidents qui s'engage sur ce sujet, est un texte en faveur des citoyens. Nous ne voulons pas être ni méchants ni bons. Nous voulons défendre les intérêts des citoyens. S'il faut être méchant pour défendre les intérêts des citoyens, nous serons méchants. Mais le but, c'est seulement défendre les intérêts des citoyens. Si on peut le faire sans être méchant, et moi, je le préfère. Mais le Parlement c'est notre travail. Nous sommes élus pour défendre les intérêts des citoyens. Donc voilà, moi, j'espère qu'on peut faire avec politesse, avec élégance, en essayant d'être le plus gentil possible. Il faut voir après.
Et sur la transparence, c'est la transparence naturellement des négociateurs envers le Parlement, mais aussi du Parlement envers l'opinion publique. Et c'est pour cette raison que nous allons avoir ces différents débats, résolutions, aussi sur des questions beaucoup plus détaillées que les questions, je dirais, horizontales qui sont traitées ici dans la première résolution.
Je salue aussi Madame la Présidente de la conférence des commissions parlementaires. Donc, ils seront fortement engagés. Nous serons très utiles pour avoir une position forte du Parlement. Donc, tous ensemble, nos députés, nous travaillerons, comme je l'ai dit, pour défendre les intérêts des citoyens. Et je soutiens absolument ce qu'a dit M. Verhofstadt. La transparence sera un débat transparent. Nous voulons connaître, mais nous ne cacherons rien sous la table.
Voilà. Bruno Waterfield.
Question first for Mr. Verhofstadt. You were uncharacteristically sort of kind, I think, to Theresa May by describing her linkage of anti-terrorism, crime cooperation, security as calling it a trade-off. Another word that perhaps might be better used is blackmail. I mean, that's a kind of trade-off too. Isn't she trying to blackmail you? Mr. Tajani, in the resolution, certainly the version I saw in paragraph 17, it said that a future withdrawal agreement, the competent authority for interpreting it and enforcing it would be the European Court of Justice. Surely, if you have a withdrawal agreement, that means that the ECJ, certainly in the UK jurisdiction, will not be able to interpret or enforce it. So could you explain that, please?
But for the UK position, we need to speak with Mrs. May, not with us. But we need to be clear. The United Kingdom is a member of the European Union. The Court of Justice is an institution of the European Union. From today to the Brexit, London is the capital of the member state. And for this, we need to respect the rules. It's not my decision or the Verhofstadt decision or the European Parliament decision, it's the treaty. And the United Kingdom signed the treaty. This is very, very simple and very clear.
Yeah, certainly that withdrawal agreement is an act of union law. And an act of union law is naturally controlled by the European Court of Justice. It's so simple as that. So this withdrawal agreement is nothing outside the treaty. It's an act of union law inside the treaty. So automatically, the Court of Justice is competent. And on the second thing, I try to be a gentleman. So towards a lady, I don't even use or think about the word blackmail.
Thank you very much, and have a nice evening.
Thank you.